Penalties, fines, and everything you ever wanted to know about rear wings. Yep, we're talking about the most dramatic weekend in the Max Lewis Red Bull Mercedes battle. Welcome back, Formula One fans, to another video. Well, are our heads still reeling from the Sao Paulo Grand Prix? A lot happened, and the internet has a lot of thoughts on the events of the past weekend, so let's delve into it. Obviously, the first point of interest was the superiority of the Mercedes on the track. It's understandable that there was speculation on the part of Red Bull when the Mercedes have struggled so much to excel this year, but clearly this is a track that just plain works for the Merc. It's a short circuit, and the first and last sectors are mostly straights, and we know that regardless of how much the Red Bull has improved, the Mercedes still far outclasses the other cars in terms of straight line speed. Sure, the Red Bull has the advantage in the twisty corners of Sector 2, but it wasn't enough to counter the Silver Arrow's power on the straights. Lewis specifically had taken a new power unit going into the race, meaning that his Mercedes was once more the strongest car on track in free practice 1 and qualifying. Then there was the shock announcement of Lewis Hamilton receiving a DQ after quali. Having set the fastest time in Friday's qualifying, Lewis's car was referred to the stewards for an alleged breach of regulations. When tested, the stewards found that his rear wing, specifically the bit that opens when DRS is activated, was wider than the permitted 85mm, something which potentially could gain him an unfair advantage when DRS is activated and thus deemed illegal. DRS, or drag reduction system, specifically helps increase speed when in a straight line, and so it's no wonder that Lewis was given a hefty penalty for the infraction. His front place start for the sprint race was revoked, and he started on Saturday from the back of the grid. Given that Lewis went into the weekend with a 5-place penalty for the new ICE in his car, it really looked like Lewis's fight for the championship was over. Mercedes and the stewards both stressed that the rear wing issue was a one-off, having been tested several times previously, and Toto Wolff claimed it was simply the cause of the rear wing taking some damage under the top speeds of the Mercedes. The stewards were happy that it was not a deliberate attempt to break the rules. Red Bull, however, are very sceptical and have been questioning the legality of the Mercedes rear wing for weeks now. Christian Horner isn't even subtle about his suspicions anymore, and neither was Max Verstappen when, in the aftermath of qualifying, he went and copped a feel of Lewis's car. He got out of his car, having qualified second, and first went and took a look at his own Red Bull rear wing before going to study the wing on the Mercedes. Of course, the rule is look but don't touch, and that's the rule Max broke. Under parc fermé conditions, the rule is that a car is effectively held in status between qualifying and the race, with no one allowed to touch the cars without express permission of the FIA stewards. Max broke that rule, and so was also called in to talk to the stewards, giving us a nerve-wracking wait to see if he too would get a penalty, only for him to be handed a €50,000 fine with no impact on his race. Saturday's sprint race itself was full of changes. Those on the soft tyres were able to make a great start, with Bottas leapfrogging Max to take the lead, and Carlos Sainz had a fantastic start, overtaking both Red Bulls and running in second for a while. Max did manage to get past him and regain P2, but even though Bottas' tyres were starting to flag toward the end of the 24-lap race, Max couldn't get close enough to take the lead. Meanwhile, Lewis made overtake after overtake, starting from the back of the grid in P20 and finishing the sprint a mighty P5. The sprint ended with Bottas taking the 3 points in the win, Max taking 2 points for second, and Sainz taking the last single point for third. We went into Sunday's race aware that Lewis had a 5-place penalty, meaning he started in 10th after his monster drive in the sprint. Bottas started on pole with Max right behind him, and there was action right away, with Bottas not even making it to turn 2 before Max had overtaken him. Maybe he was distracted by Lando Norris's runoff after colliding with Carlos Sainz, maybe he just bottled it, but Max made it look easy. Bottas then ran wide, allowing Perez to get past him as well. Lewis, meanwhile, was carving his way up the leaderboard, and by just lap 5, team orders were being given for Bottas to let Lewis pass and take third place. Soon after, we had 2 safety cars in quick succession, one real, one virtual. Both did Lewis a favour in backing up the grid, and he quickly got even closer to the 2 Red Bulls, though a poor restart after the second green flag cost him a bit of distance to Perez. With DRS on lap 19, he made his first attempt on Checo, only for the Red Bull to steal back past under his own DRS. But when they next got to the centre straight, Lewis had got past him cleanly for second place, and the hunt was on to Max Verstappen. We had yet more Mercedes strategy drama mid-race. They finally tried to make the undercut work for them, only for Max to pit immediately after Lewis, so they didn't gain much advantage. Bottas made use of another virtual safety car to pit and get ahead of Perez for third place, and on the second round of stops, Max pitted first with Lewis soon after, but he was quickly on the radio complaining about the tyre choice, the team opting for the hard tyres rather than the yellow-walled mediums. Bottas is also on the radio arguing that their strategy has cost them a 1-2 finish. With Lewis getting closer and closer to Max's rear tyres, lap 47 saw him get ahead of Max on the run into turn 5, but Max had the inside and ran wide at the corner, forcing Lewis and himself well off the track. We all waited to see the telltale icon indicating a steward's inquiry, but it wasn't forthcoming. They continued round and we heard first Red Bull arguing with Michael Masi that it was important to let the drivers race, and then Mercedes sarcastically messaging that they guessed it was okay to drive another car off the track and gain an advantage now. Masi reassured both teams that they were looking at the data, and it was then announced that there was no investigation necessary. Lewis's reaction when he heard the news? Of course, man. Of course. Crucially, the onboard footage from Max's car wasn't made publicly available until this week, and the stewards did not have it to view when making their decision. Looking at that footage, I'd argue that Max did turn into the corner, he didn't drive at Lewis, but the turn was much, much too late and he knew it. Finally, on lap 59, Lewis did make it past Max for the race lead. The Red Bull just couldn't match the straight line speed of the Mercedes at a track where it is so dominant. Shortly afterwards, Max did receive a warning black and white flag for weaving on the track, probably referring to his increasingly desperate defending before the overtake. Understandably, Red Bull pitted Perez on the second to last lap to nab the fastest lap point from Lewis, but the race finished Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas on the podium, giving Lewis a much-needed boost in the title race, now just 14 points behind Max on the leaderboard. Mercedes are now 11 points clear of Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship. We thought that would be the end of the emotional rollercoaster that was Sao Paulo, but no. On seeing the onboard footage from Max's car, Mercedes have decided to use their right to review with regards to the lack of penalty the Dutchman received when running both cars wide and preventing Lewis from overtaking. Teams can use this when new evidence comes to light, and Red Bull will have been braced for this eventuality. Will this affect the upcoming race in Qatar? Will Red Bull retaliate with a formal complaint about Mercedes' rear wing? And will we ever see another race weekend with as many twists and turns as Brazil 2021? I don't have the answers, but it's been brilliant. Breaking news. Timed for dramatic effect as we were mid-press conference with Toto Wolff and Christian Horner, the FIA stewards have announced that they are rejecting Mercedes' request to review the Turn 4 incident at Sao Paulo. They decided that the onboard footage from Max's car, while new and relevant, was not significant enough to require investigation. Toto said he wasn't surprised by the decision, and at least it means the issue of late evidence has been discussed, and this may mean more careful decision-making by stewards in future. Christian, meanwhile, seemed happy to move on from the topic and get back to the race in hand at Qatar. Max avoids a penalty, applied to either the Brazil results or the start of the Qatar race, and Red Bull fans will be elated. Mercedes fans, on the other hand, will be disappointed not to see Lewis and Max be put on a more level footing as we approach the end of what has been an incredibly tight championship fight. Was the timing of the decision from the FIA deliberate, to make the lead up to the inaugural Qatar Grand Prix as exciting as possible? Is it the right decision? And with drivers like Charles Leclerc saying the outcome would affect how they drive in future, what does that mean for future races? What do you think, Formula 1 fans? Let us know your opinions in the comments below, and remember to like and subscribe for more videos. Thanks for watching!